We're here with Yamaha's Super Ténéré, the newest Yamaha in Canada. There's only two actually here right now. These are European bikes, but they are going to be selling it in, they say, about June of 2011. And you can tell from the looks of the thing, it's very much like a R1200 GS BMW. It has 110 claimed horsepower. It's a parallel twin. It has shaft drive. Its quoted horsepower is around the same as the BMW. And the BMW really is the benchmark in the class. It's a fabulous bike. So bikes in this category have an exceptionally difficult task. So when we picked up the Super Ténéré from Yamaha, the directions were fairly simple. We were not to fall off it or not to scratch it. Because this is the bike that will be doing the show circuit this year, all the cross Canada motorcycle tour shows. So without really being able to thrash it off-road, it sort of limited what we could do with it. But we did get a couple of days of riding in, and it's a really enjoyable bike. Handling is very easy, very light. The broad bar really helps that. The seat is two-position adjustable. I'm 6 feet tall, and in the highest position I can still put my feet flat on the ground. Steve Thornton, who rode it, who's 5'9", he rode it in the lower position, and he found that the reach to the ground was actually fairly comfortable. So it's a really easy to ride bike, especially with the panniers. They're actually very practical motorcycles. What's a little odd about the Super Ténéré is that you can't shut off the ABS. Now, ABS on the street, we think it should be essential. It should be on all motorcycles. Off-road, it's a different story. If you're going down a steep incline, and the ABS is on, you'll just keep rolling and rolling because there essentially is no traction. Now, we have learned that there's some, on the internet, somebody has already figured out how to bypass the system and trick it and shut it off. We don't know what that is, but when we get one to test next year, we'll probably try to figure that out. Along with ABS, the Super Ténéré has some interesting features that are almost de rigueur in this kind of motorcycle now. One of them is a mode switch for power. And if you look right down here, you see a T, and on the right handlebar switch block, there's a little switch, and that goes to S. So Sport is the full aggressive power, and Touring softens it a little bit. Earlier today when we were doing photo passes, I actually forgot and left it in T. And still thought it was fairly powerful, but then as soon as I moved it to S, there was a noticeable difference. Now, the traction control has three positions, number 1, number 2, and then if you hold it down, it shuts it off. Because we have been told to bring back the motorcycle without destroying it, we really haven't been able to play around as much in the dirt as we would like to. So my initial response is that, or feedback is that they don't seem that dramatically different between the two. Between traction control 1 and 2. Presumably 1 allows a little bit more of a slide in dirt, and 1 does not. So we'll have to get back to you in the spring on that one. But anyway, the rest of it's fairly straightforward. Ambient air temperature, fuel gauge on the right, clock, odometer, speed in kilometers an hour, of course, digitally, and then a tachometer over here. The question that everybody wants to know with any kind of monster trailer that's introduced is how does it compare to the R1200 GS BMW, which is really the benchmark. And after 2 days of riding, I can't unequivocally say that it's as good or better than the BMW. We really need to get them all together and ride them to compare them. But I can tell you this much, that this kind of motorcycle, as we learned in the fall tour this year when we had a Ducati Multistrada, which has a comparable riding position, this kind of bike is really so comfortable that there's probably more leg room than on a Goldwing. The seat's flat and broad, the handlebar is fairly close to you. It's a really comfortable bike for racking up the miles. The success of this bike will really depend on its price. Yamaha Canada has claimed that it will be competitive to the R1200 GS. By that, they better not mean more, or else they'll be in trouble. If it's the same or less, if it's a few $1,000s less, I think this bike will probably find a fairly loyal following.